Thanks, Dan. It's a great video. You three specialists, Jim Ebling, Dan Seelock, and Ron Rosati, should go ahead and call the number now. It's 800-447-9492. Okay. Jim, are you with us?
Jim's online. He'll be there in about 10 seconds.
Okay. Jim will be with us in just a second.
Okay, I'll put Jim on.
Jim, are you with us? Jim, are you there?
Dan on the air?
Okay, let's go to Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, you're there.
Yes, I am.
Welcome. You had two good videotapes.
Thank you.
We had a question. I know Southern does quite a bit of work with tilapia. We had a question from Washington, North Carolina, Mr. Boone Mora. And the question they had was, do tilapia digest cellulose?
Well, they eat plants, so I'd say they probably digest cellulose. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is tough.
No, I'm getting heads are shaking saying no.
Okay. So I think the answer to that would be no?
I'd say so.
Okay. Okay, hope that answers your question, Mr. Moore. Our 800 number, again, for you, if you have questions, is 743-4647. This will be our last question and answer period before we sign off. If you have those questions, go ahead and give us a call, and we'll get those answered for you. We have a question here from Dr. David Vaughn down at Harbor Branch Oceanographic in Florida. Dr. Vaughn asked, could we describe some of the different modern methods for particulate filter and biofiltration? If we can get Dr. Rosati on the line, I'm not sure if he's hooked in yet. Dan, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Dan, do you think you or your colleagues down there at Southern would be able to answer that question?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay. The question was, could you describe some of the different modern methods for biological and particulate filtration?
Well, Tom Lasorda is doing a lot of work in South Carolina, working with the bead filters used for both particulate and biofilter uses. Here we've had the rotating biocontactors in the past. I think that's what they're using at Illinois State.
Okay.
There's a variety of materials to use, even netting material. In the video earlier from Illinois State, you saw some of the ready-walled mesh material used for biofilters. So there's a variety of things. It just depends on your density and what your costs are going to be and how much efficiency you need.
Okay, Dan. There was quite a workshop down at LSU a couple years ago. Ted, could you give us a contact for that? I know Dr. Ron Malone, Tom Lasorda, I know National Sea Grant Office put that workshop on for the Effluence Project. Do you know of someone they might contact?
Right. Who I would suggest that you get a hold of in regard to that would be the Aquaculture Information Center, which is part of the National Agricultural Library. Recently, they have put out on a computer disk the entire proceedings printed out on that undertaking. So I would suggest you talk to them, Ladon.
Okay, that's a real good point. I have a copy of that disk. I think it's called Hypertext, and it does have the entire proceedings on that. And I'm not sure if there's a cost to that or not, but we will provide you with. We can provide you with the address for the Aquaculture Information Center. It is included in the course materials. We have a call from Iowa. Dan, are you still there?
No.
Yeah, you are. You're there, right?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. The caller asked, is bird predation much of a problem here in the Midwest?
Oh, no, not as much as it is in Arkansas, some of the southern states. The farms around here do have one or two cannons, and they do move it from pond to pond routinely, but it's just not as much of a problem as down south.
Okay. I know down in southern Illinois you do have some pretty large bait fish and sport fish operations. in your videotape you did have the propane cannon, so I would assume, do you see more of immigration of those double-crested cormorants in the southern Illinois?
Compared to where?
Are you seeing the double-crested cormorants move into southern Illinois
They
now?
move in and move out. I don't think they're spending the winter here as much as they are farther south.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dan. Could we get Jim Ebling on the line, please? Jim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome. You had a real nice videotape.
Thank you very much.
There was a caller who called in earlier, and I tried to answer that question, but I knew you would be on at this time. The caller wanted to know what potential does borrow pits or farm ponds have for someone getting into aquaculture?
Well, as you saw in the video, cage culture is a real good opportunity to learn what's involved in doing aquaculture. You have to remember that aquaculture is very unique and very different from livestock. And so it gives the person, for a small initial capital investment, growing a species that is relevant and has a good market in his area, the opportunity to really get his, quote, feet wet.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
We have a few questions here. Jim, would you just stay on the line, please?
Okay.
Okay. Questions from Mr. James Lee from Fayetteville, Arkansas. And Jim, if you'd give this one a shot, I'd appreciate it. Has demand for walleye, let's see. Okay. The caller wants to know if walleye can handle indoor aquaculture environments.
That's a tough one to answer because there really hasn't been a lot of research in the indoor production of walleye. I do know of several growers in Ohio who are attempting to do it. The problem we have is that walleye is a sports fish, and therefore it's not one that we can grow in an aquaculture facility at this time. But other states like Minnesota and Wisconsin do have active programs, and I do know that they are growing it in ponds.
Thanks, Jim. I might footnote to that. I know in Missouri, the regional center had a meeting there a few years ago, and there was a producer who was just getting into, we'd call it maybe semi-closed production system where they were taking spring water and recirculating that water. Maybe if the caller who called in with that question might want to get in touch with the specialist in Missouri, they may be able to give you a more updated answer to your question. The specialist there, you could probably contact your extension agent and they could refer you to that person. Again, our phone number for questions is 800-743-4647. Probably have time for a couple more questions. Dan, could we get Dan Seelock back on the line, please?
Yes.
Dan, we have a call from a friend of ours, as a matter of fact, Charlie Feltner. He had a question on purging off flavor. Is there any water treatment that can speed up that process?
Well, I don't know of a water treatment necessarily. Good quality water, usually from 4 to 7 days. Flushing through the tank with the fish should clean it up.
Okay, Dan. I know one of the management strategies they use in the South now, I think, is to, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but one thing that they're doing is to reduce the size of those farm ponds. I think that is an accepted management strategy now, the culture ponds, to at least increase the chances of having fish that are own flavor. Okay, that just about does it for the question and answer period. We hope you've enjoyed the program. During this program, we've tried to introduce you to several different commonly produced aquaculture species. We all know that we didn't have time to get in very much depth on these species, but we feel like you did have the opportunity to see what's involved in aquaculture, and that is it's a lot of hard work and very labor intensive. I think you ask any aquaculture producer and they ask you how many hours they put in a week. I think they would say 60, 80, 100 depending on the time of the year. So it is very labor intensive. It's a lot of hard work, but I do think a lot of the fish producers enjoy what they do. One of the best ways to increase your chances of success in the aquaculture industry is to do what John Jensen and Mike Masser did, and that is to plan. You have to put your thoughts and your ideas down on paper and constantly reevaluate those ideas as additional information becomes available to you. The whole concept of a business plan is essential. You will never be able to get a loan from a bank unless you present them with a business plan, and this has to be an in-depth business plan. During your planning phases, you may be looking for sources of information. As I mentioned earlier, that course materials provides you with a lot of information. Also, your local cooperative extension service is a good place to look for information. Other sources could be your state or national aquaculture associations. Aquaculture associations can provide you with a lot of information. University-based specialists, the National Aquaculture Information Center that Ted mentioned earlier, trade magazines, subscribe to some of these trade magazines, or even reputable aquaculture consultants. I mentioned earlier the course materials. If we could have that address now, if you want to order copies of that, contact me at the following address. The cost for these materials are $25 per copy, and you need to make the check payable to Purdue University. Okay. Also, you can obtain a copy of the videotape, a videotape copy of this program, and you can order that by contacting Joe Morris at Iowa State University. Joe's Associate Director for the Regional Aquaculture Center, and cost for the videotapes of this program is $30 per copy. Okay. Ted, do you have any closing comments?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for having participated in this activity. Once again, it shows what a tremendous job those aquaculture extension specialists are doing out there. The quality of the videos was outstanding, and again, we are linking up, and we've really been able to develop a network, and we're really proud of that, not only here in the North Central region, but also throughout the U.S. And again, we want to thank you, Ladon, for your efforts, and everybody else for what they've contributed.
Okay. Thanks, Ted. I want to thank Larry Dorman, Jim Ebling, Don Garling, Terry Kays, Joe Morris, Ron Rosati, and Dan Seelock for producing the videotape segments that you saw. They put a lot of time into doing those, and I think they did an excellent job. Finally, I'd like to thank Ted Batterson for coming down from Michigan State the day before Easter. John Jensen and Michael Masser at Auburn University. John has really helped me out with this program. We've talked back and forth quite a bit during the last year in planning this. Finally, I'd like to thank you for watching the program. We look forward to hearing your comments, and if you have suggestions on future programs of this sort, don't hesitate to give us a call. We wish you luck, and thanks for viewing.